Guys, all the cars that you see in these videos are for sale on my website, www.woodsandbarclay.com. Enjoy the video. Hey everyone, welcome back to the series on the Black Pearl. So in the last video, you saw I was doing suspension disassembly. Today, we're going to start the front suspension reassembly. So let's get started. All right, this is where we left off in the last video. I only have one spring compressor, so I haven't disassembled this side yet, but I'll spare you guys from having to watch that. We have unboxed all of the new parts. Now, ignore that dash. That's for a different car. But we have, hey, Jefferson, we have brand new ATE front calipers with all the mounting hardware. Brand new ATE rotors. Those are the vented. Let's see. Here's our rear brake hoses. ATE front brake hoses. ATE, that's all OEM equipment manufacturer. Front brake pads. The rear brake pads are in there. Brake pad wear sensor. These are Phoebe out of Germany. There you go. Made in Germany. Let's move over here. Okay, here is, guys, this is the the drag link or center link. Remember, that's the part that I said to save that bolt so we can attach our steering shock. Nobody had that. The Classic Center didn't have it. Mercedes didn't have it. It was sold out at the parts supplier. But I actually contacted Phoebe Bilstein out of Germany, and they had one shipped in from Germany. So that's good that we have that. Here is the made in Germany, Phoebe Bilstein. Now, these are the HD shocks. They're a little bit stiffer than your standard shocks. This is closer to what Mercedes installed from the factory. And as you know, Bilstein made the shocks for Mercedes. Mercedes doesn't make parts, guys. There's all the hardware for the shocks. Over here, there's two boxes. I just threw one of the boxes away. There's the inner and outer tie rods. One's left-hand thread, one's right-hand thread for both sides of the car. There's the rear sway bar end links. Here are the ATE rear calipers. And this is all Limforder, guys. This is who made the suspension parts for Mercedes. If you call the Classic Center and want some engine mounts, and you say who makes your engine mounts, they will tell you Limforder. Here is the guide rod bushing. That's that big bushing that goes in the. Let me show you. That's the one that goes in this housing right here. That's always fun to rebuild those. We got two of them. We got two of everything, both sides of the car. There's, of course, new ball joints. There's one in the box. And these are new inner seals because bearing seals, because I'm going to knock out the old seals, clean the bearings, and repack them with grease. So, guys, I got my work cut out for me. This is a lot of work. And let's go ahead and go over to the parts washer, start cleaning up some stuff. I guess I'm going to start with, we're going to knock out our old ball joint and go ahead and clean up our steering knuckle. All right, before we can get the new ball joint pressed in, we do have to remove, this is the tie rod connecting arm, which your tie rod connects right here, and that allows you to turn your wheels. So we first have to remove that arm. And look at all the blue Loctite the Germans used from the factory. You can see it's all turned to dust there and fell out on the bench, but we'll reapply the Loctite. So now that we have that off, we can go press out our ball joint, and I'll show you how to do that. So I have the steering knuckle, you can see, in my vise here. And guys, this is pretty barbaric how you do this, but this is how you do it. You get a big slug here, put it up there, and you beat the hell out of this thing, and it will come out. Go probably about 2 or 3 more hits. Okay, there we go. Be careful when you're doing that, guys. Don't hold on to it with your hand, because when it comes out, it'll take your hand with it, and that will mess you up. Okay, now we want to take this over to the parts washer, get it all cleaned up because we're going to respray this, refinish it the original semi-gloss black. Guys, this is like a mid-60s parts washer made by Gray Mill. These things are absolutely great. When they say they don't make them like they used to, I mean, that's the truth. These things are just incredible for cleaning up your old parts. All right, now I also have some other parts from the car. Here's our brake dust shields. I wanted to clean those up also. I don't know if they're dust shields or splash guards, but I always call them dust shields. And guys, this is our cross member that we removed from the bottom of the car when we were taking our guide rod mounts out. Our guide rod bushings. I'll go ahead and clean this guy up. Oh man, this one's coming out really nice. All that grime, you know, from just years of driving, all the oil and grease just melts right off it. So you can see it all right there. And this parts washer just melts it right off of there. Check that out. Still got all the original paint on it. Yeah, check out how good that looks. That looks brand new. Now this is the tie rod arm that we removed from the steering knuckle. I'm going to go ahead and drop our bolts in the bolts cup. Go ahead and clean those up. Let those soak, and then we'll just clean up this arm before we reattach it, repaint it and reattach it. All right, we'll let all that stuff dry out, and then we will repaint everything. And guys, I'm also going to do the hubs, and there's a lot of other parts, so that's just what we're doing for now. Okay, I'm back. I had to skip a day because I had to do the front brakes on my 99 7.3 diesel F-250 Super Duty. But I wanted you guys to see this. Here is the front hub and brake assembly from a 9,000 pound Super Duty diesel truck. Look at the size of that thing. And here's the one from the Mercedes, from the 300 SD. But you can see the cool thing about Mercedes, and this is one of the things I like about them. So what we're going to do now, we're going to detach this rotor from the hub. See, you can drill these bolts out. I'm sorry, not drill them out. You can unscrew these bolts, and the hub right here separates, and we can clean that up and refinish it. Now the F-250, this is all one piece. The studs, the hub, the rotor, it's all a giant one-piece design. So I have to throw this whole thing away and buy a completely new one. Whereas the Mercedes, it's all individual components, which is really cool. We can take it all apart, clean it up. So let's go ahead and let me throw this thing away. And we're going to take this apart. We're going to remove our rear seal and get our bearing out. Then we're going to clean up our hubs. Okay, to get these out, I always use this big Earthquake. It has like 1,700 foot-pounds. Yeah, this thing's no joke. And you can get these bolts out. All right, there we go. Get these bolts out. And now, and I'll do it to the other one off camera, but now what we can do is separate. Let's see if this one's going to play nice. Yeah, look at that. Now, this is our hub, guys, and you don't want to throw away your hub. Your hub doesn't wear out. This is good. What you want to do is check the bearing races. And you can see that race, that's where the bearing rides, it's like new condition. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's because this thing was greased so well. I mean, that's all really, really good grease in there. So what we're going to do now, we're going to pop out this seal. If you noticed on the parts table, we got a new seal because I want to get this bearing out so we can start cleaning all this up. Okay, guys, we're over here at the vise. You can see the hub is in the vise. That won't hurt anything. And I wanted to show you something. These are unique to 1985. You do not have, see the little teeth back here? That's what that anti-lock brake system, that sensor we pulled out in the last video, it reads these little teeth here and detects, I guess, when the wheel is locking up. But that is unique to 85 only. On 84 back to the other turbo models do not have that ring. All right, so to get this seal out, you need to take a punch and we need to tap around the edge of the seal. A chisel, but this will chisel in the edges or bend in the edges so we can get it out. All right, let's see what that got us. There we go. All right, there's our seal. And now we can get access, whoops, dropped it on the ground. Now we can get access to this bearing. And look how much grease is on there. This bearing is beautiful condition. So we're gonna clean this up and repack it with grease and put it back in the car. And you can see how well this thing was being greased. Look at all that. And anyway, we need to get all that out of there, clean these hubs up. So we're gonna get the seal out of this one and then it's back to the parts washer. Okay, let's go ahead. I don't wanna get my greasy hands on them, but here's all those parts we washed. Look how nice they came out. I'm gonna take these outside to be painted and then we can clean up our hubs. All right, I know you guys didn't really come to the channel to watch parts being cleaned in the parts washer, but this stuff is important, guys. Here's my bearings. I'm gonna go and just drop that in my solvent here, and we'll put a little fresh solvent in there. And I'm gonna go ahead and get the front bearings, or the outer bearings also, and drop them in here. Now, what we also wanna do is get all of this old grease out of here. There's my grease cup. See this old grease? I don't want that clogging up my parts washer filter. It'll dissolve it pretty good, but not when you just dump in that much. All right, there we go. Now let's get out of this one, and then we're gonna clean these up really nice. And guys, all this stuff is reusable. Here's the front bearing, or the outer bearings. There's the spindle nut. There's that little copper interference pin. We don't want that. There we go. And here's the dust caps. And guys, I like using these grease caps. You see right over here, I have some new ones right here. Here's new, but guys, these original ones, they always fit better. So I like to use it. I mean, it looks like it's the same damn manufacturer, but the new ones that you can get, it's just, they're so damn hard to get on that I like using these original ones. So we're gonna clean these up. Here we go. And we're gonna respray those too. All right, guys, look at that. Look at the condition. That is beautiful condition down in there. Look how good that looks. It's like brand new stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead, we're gonna refinish all this in the semi-gloss black and make it beautiful again. Just cleaned out our dust caps, and see guys, nothing wrong with that. And all we're gonna do is refinish it into the semi-gloss black like they did at the factory. So let me go ahead and get our bearings and stuff cleaned up, and then we're going to start reassembling the hubs, rotors, and bearings. Just wanted to show you guys these bearings here. I just got all the old grease out of there, and yeah, there you go. Made in Germany. But see, there's no reason to put in new bearings. These are amazing condition. We just want to, because they were greased very well and maintained. That's a, you know, perfect condition bearing. And here's the outer bearing. Let's see. This one says Japan. So we got a German and a Japanese bearing. That's interesting. They've been working together the whole time since World War II. All right, let's go ahead and clean up the other ones and start reassembly. Hey, sorry, we're not done cleaning yet. First, we want to go ahead and disassemble our guide rod mount here. See, we got to get a 13 millimeter right there. There we go. All right. And this just screws off of our guide rod mount, because we got to get that mount out of there and then clean up the assembly. Oh my God, there we go. All right, now also you have these bushings here. And guys, I have never seen these bushes wear out. These bushings here. You have here, here, right here, and here. It would be a total waste of time to press these out and replace them. I've never seen them wear out on like a car with 200,000 miles on it. These have 50,000 miles. There's no point in replacing those. But this guy is what we want to get out, and it has some Allen bolts on the back. We'll do that in a second. Now we want to go ahead and address our tie rod ends. That's just a 13 millimeter. All right, take that to the vise. Now let's go ahead and get these Allen bolts out. Now this one has a 17 millimeter nut on the other side. All right, there's our housing. And guys, this is the bushing that we have to get out of here. This is the fun part. Not really. All right, let's see if this one plays nice. Oh, yes it is. It's not seized in there, and that's coming right out of there. There you go. See how it's pushing out of the back side? Yes, there it goes. Boom. There we go. Nice. Now, see all that just crusty gunk that's in there? This is not bad. We just need to clean all that up and do a little sanding. And then we're going to grease it when we put another one in there. And that way it won't be hard to get out, you know, the next time this is done. But this is aluminum. And that's just crusty gunk and corrosion and whatnot that's gotten in there. So let me get this cleaned up. There you go. That's where that crusty gunk comes from. This is the bushing that we're going to replace. And that's steel. So steel and aluminum, dissimilar metals, and you get the idea. All right, we have our tie rod in the vise. This can also be the fun part. Let me get a smaller wrench. Okay, good. This one is turning. And we just need to spin this guy out. And then we're going to put in our new tie rod end. And this one's not horrible. See, the boot's not ripped, but see how loose that is? You know, it was time. Okay, come on out of there. Okay, you can see here's our replacement tie rod, and you can see that is an identical part. It's because Limforder made this, and Limforder made the original stuff. Mercedes does not make parts. So let's do the next mechanic a favor, and we're going to put anti-seize on here. That way the next time somebody does this It is very easy to remove this. And also when we go to the alignment shop, that's going to make it easy to adjust in here. It was something like that. All right. Now I'm not going to tighten it back up yet because once we get, oh, by the way, remember how the other one was loose? Look at this one. See how firm that one is? That's because that one's good. All right, let's flip it over and get the other one out. All right, let's see if this one is going to play nice. Oh, look at that. They both come out. This car has no corrosion anywhere, so all this is really easy. Now, this is the left-hand thread. Notice that was tightening it. So to loosen it, I actually go clockwise. But yeah, on a lot of cars, there's gunk and corrosion and all these pieces, and it's impossible to get these things out. And this car is just in such amazing condition that this stuff is easy to do. I really feel for those mechanics that live up in the Northeast, because that would just be a nightmare working on cars from that area. But you get it on your fingers, everything turns silver. Okay, now let's see, counterclockwise. Tightens this side. All right, there we go. Okay, we'll just do something like that. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and clean up the sleeve here. That's the original sleeve, so it's kind of cool that I get to keep that on the car. All right, back to the parts washer. With all this stuff, put our bolts down in here. And this guide rod mount arm is going to get repainted. Actually, the original paint on there is pretty damn good. I'm going to respray it anyway. All right, now we want to clean up our assembly here. Get around in there really good. All right, let me dry everything off, and we'll start some reassembly of these. There we go. Now that we got this clean, see what I'm talking about with these bushings right here? You can see that bushing looks brand new. I've never seen these wear out. See this one right here? You can see from the factory, they got a little paint on it because they sprayed these and they just had the bushings in here. So the bushings would get paint on them too. See, there's paint there. But yeah, see how the paint, where they sprayed all of it at the factory? But yeah, that's why I wanted to show you these bushings. I've never seen these needing replacement. All right, here's my paint booth. My poor 85 parts car out here. You can see I painted a lot of stuff on this hood, but everything is painted. And I ran out of semi-gloss, so you guys are getting gloss for this car. But you can see how nice everything will come out. So we'll let that dry. I'm gonna go eat lunch. All right, guys, we have our new guide rod bushing and our painted, housing. Went ahead and cleaned it up. Now, I've also coated the inside with anti-seize. That way, next time this has to come out, it's pretty easy. Now, the way you put these in, it's pretty barbaric, but this is the way you do it. You get it lined up in there. We're using a rubber mallet. Much easier to install than to take out. All right. Make sure it's flush all the way around there. Good. Okay, Limforder actually provides us with brand new hardware even for the crossmember mount. So I'm going to go ahead and install this brand new hardware. There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead. We want to apply our blue Loctite here and here. Now these are lock nuts, so you don't need blue Loctite for these. And let's put this on here. All right, put one through. Now you want to torque these down evenly. And guys, there is our fresh guide rod mount, and we'll put a little anti-seize on the threads here, so when it goes back together with the guide rod mount arm, it's easy to make adjustments. There we go. Now this anti-seize is probably going to get in my freshly painted black part, but that's okay. Now I need to screw this guy back on here. And we're not going to tighten down the adjustment sleeve until it's back on the car, because we'll have to make adjustments once it's on the car, and of course we'll need to get adjusted at the alignment shop. All right, there we go, guys. That is our beautiful new part with our new bushing and all new hardware. All right, let's move on to the next thing. All right, next thing we have here is our shock. Now I've removed the bump stop from the original shock, and that goes over right here. Then we need to put our mounting plate, and this goes over here. Then we put our bushing right there. And now we do get all new hardware, so once this goes back on the top of the car, it'll get that bushing and that nut. So here's our new shock, ready to install back on the car. Got our original plastic cover and our bump stop. All right, yes, we're back at the parts washer, and here's our, our new tie rod with our new tie rod ends. I just wanted to clean this shaft up a little bit. Not sure how much it'll clean up. I would say that cleaned up pretty nice. Still has the original green paint on it. And some of the green paints come off right there because that's where the alignment shops clamp onto it to make adjustments. Yeah, guys, I'm really happy with that. All right, let me clean up the other one. We'll move on to the next item. Okay, so here we have our refinished hubs. Don't these look nice? Check that out. Looks brand new again. There's our refinished hubs. Here are the new ATE front rotors. We have our bearings. There's the inner bearing, outer bearing, our spindle nuts. There's the rotor to hub bolts. These are the little like grease scrapers or radio interference pins that go on the end of the spindle. Not really sure what those actually do. Then we have our refinished dust caps, our grease caps. Look how nice those look. And our inner bearing seal. That's to seal those bearings. And those are new seals. So let's go ahead and start the reassembly process. All right, first thing we want to do is repack our inner bearings. And I have tons of tubes of bearing grease over here. So we're going to squirt that out. All right, now to pack a bearing, guys, you want to get on the palm of your hand, and then you want to pack the bearing on there. And what happens, you push the grease up in the bearing until it squirts out the rollers. All right, so what we've done, we've pushed all the grease up into the bearing. See how it's squirted out the rollers? And let me get some of that off of there. And there we go. So that is a packed bearing. We packed the grease down in there. Now, what we want to do is mess up my freshly painted nice hubs. No, I'm just kidding. We want to roll that over There we go. We're going to take what's left over. We want to coat it down in there really well. Get a bunch of grease down in there. All right, there we go. Now we're going to drop this bearing right down in there. You can't put it in the wrong way, guys. It only goes in one way. All right, now we need to tap in our dust cover. Now before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and pack the other one over here, and I'll be right back. Okay, we have our bearings, our inner bearings packed. You can see there's grease all down there in the hub, and we want to put our seals in now. Now our dust caps, Mercedes also says put some grease in the dust cap, and we can see over here our outer bearings have been packed. So I can't install those quite yet. Let's go ahead and knock in our seals. All right, now I need to get my highly specialized seal installer. Here we go. Simple wood block, guys. Just put that down on the seal. A little bit more on this side. And there we go. Perfectly installed inner seal. Let me get this one. And there you go, guys. Inner seals installed. All right, guys, next we want to install our rotors on our new hubs. Now, you want to use blue Loctite on the bolts. So I'm going to go ahead and just apply that Loctite. We'll go ahead and get them started by hand. Now, let me show you how these actually mount. You see, there's actually two sets of holes here. You can see there's one on the inside, outside, outside. And you want to line it up. I'll show you. All right, you want to line it up, and you see you have an outside hole and an inside hole. So the inside hole, or the one in the center, is for mounting your rotor to your hub. That outside hole is when you put this on the car from the other side, you screw in your wheel studs. That's what that other hole's for. So we want to go ahead, get these all started by hand. You don't need to use the massive impact gun when you're reinstalling it. We can step it down a little bit. So I like to do it in a star pattern and just snug them up first. Now we want to go around and torque them. All right, guys, that is not coming off until the next guy has a really big impact, because that blue Loctite is going to lock those guys in there. All right, both of these are done. Now let's flip them over. All right, we're going to take some of our grease that we put in the hub earlier and smear it around our bearing race. All right, now we want to drop in our outer bearing. Boom. All right, now what we want to do next is I just want to put the spindle nut right there, and we want to set these aside until it's time to install them on the car. And I'll take our little radio interference pins and I just stick them down in the grease there. So those will hold right there. Or I'm sorry, our grease scrapers. Stick those in there. And then we're going to set these here. There we go, guys. It doesn't get any better than that. Let's set these aside, move on to the next item. Okay, here is the next item. You can see our nice, freshly painted and refinished steering knuckle or spindle. And here is our new ball joint. This is a cup that it sits on right there. And we need to put our ball joint in right here. And then see the tool, it can go around the ball joint. And then that cutout slot goes around the steering knuckle. Let me raise the press. There we go. A little bit more. Whoops. All right, let me zoom in so you can see what's going on here. All right, there you go. You see our ball joint, and the ball joint has knurls. It's knurled, and those knurls press in, and it's held in by friction. Now, if you watch as I pump this down, ready? Here we go. You can see it's pressing into there. And you want to go until it bottoms out. Now, this is a 20-ton press, so this takes a lot of force. A little bit more. Almost. Okay, we're in. All right, there we go. We'll take off our tool. There we go. And now you can see there's a perfectly, whoop, let me zoom out. There we go. Now you can see there's a perfectly pressed in ball joint, perfectly flush around the bottom, and that's the way you do it. All right, if you remember on our steering knuckle, we had to remove the tie rod arm in order to press out and press in the ball joint. So now we want to apply blue Loctite to the bolts and put this guy back in. Now you have a short bolt that goes on the, see that side's thinner than that side? I have a short bolt and a long bolt. Those aren't coming out. All right, there we go. Okay, so here's what we have accomplished over the last few days. Now, keep in mind, this is one side of the car. I have to do all this again on the other side of the car, but I'm not going to record that part. So that's our spring perch. We've cleaned and painted that. Our guide rod, our guide rod mount bushing. We've painted the assembly, and we've pressed in our new bushing. Our tie rods, we put in our tie rod ends and cleaned up the shafts. We assembled our new shock with the plastic cover, refinished. There's our dust shields. We pressed in a new ball joint, reattached the arm, and refinished our steering knuckle. And we've re-greased all the bearings, new seals, refinished the hubs, and new rotors. So guys, it is time to start reassembly of this on the car. All right, guys, here we are, next day. I have all the refinished suspension for the driver's side over here, and today we're going to start reassembly. And first thing I want to do while I'm thinking about it, this is the ABS sensor. I have some acetone on a rag here, and I'm just going to clean that up really good. All right, here we go. It doesn't take much. I'll put a little right there and then rub it in with my fingers. There we go. Rub that right around there. All right, there we go. All right, now the first thing I want to install is our guide rod mount housing, and with our new bushing and guide rod arm there. And that requires 2 bolts that go into here. And first I want to clean those up. Let me take you back over here to the parts washer. You can see Mercedes sprayed like, you know, Cosmoline and stuff on there, and it's got a bunch of dirt on there, but watch this. Because these are yellow zinc dichromate plated, and they've been under the car for, you know, the last 40 years, and let me show you how amazing these come out. Well, here, I've already done one right here. Check that out. Look at that. That's remarkable. No rust or corrosion or anything. So let me go ahead and clean up the rest of these, and we'll get this installed back on the car. Okay, when you're putting your bolts back in, you want to put a little blue Loctite on these guys. Okay, so you can see here are the tabs that have the nut. It's a caged nut in there. Now we get new hardware that comes with the new control rod bushing. Let me see if I can show you this. Here we go. However, there we go. So That's what that piece looks like. But the new stuff that is being sent out, you can see there's no welds. There's usually like a little tack weld here that holds that nut in place. And my experience is that using these new ones, when you go to undo it or go to tighten it, that nut will break loose from its cage and start spinning. So when the original ones are in good shape, which they are on this car, I don't like to use these. So we're going to stick with our originals. And now we're not looking at that part here, but if you look up under here, you can see all that Cosmoline wax. There you go. See the threads? See how good a condition that is? So we don't want to replace those. We want to keep these originals in here. All right, let's see if I can record this for you guys. So we want to stick the end of it into our lower control arm right there. Here we go. Okay, there we go. Now I can see that I need to adjust my arm in so it fits a little better. Let me get one nut there. Now we're going to make adjustments here and pull our guide rod arm in so this lines up better. Okay, now let's go ahead, start tightening those down. All right, now I want to torque them in place. Look how nice that looks, guys. Original zinc plating is still on there. That looks really good. And what I was doing up here, the adjustment I'm making, I want that hole, there we go, to be right in the center, right there. And what we do, here are these original bushings that there's absolutely no reason to replace these. These very rarely, if ever, wear out. There we go. Okay, now if you remember, we had our puck that goes through here, like that. All right, then we put our bushing around the bottom here. And put our puck back in the bottom. There we go. Now let me get our nut on there. All right. And I want to tighten that. I want to tighten our adjustment just a little bit more. There we go. I think that's good. All right, so let me torque that down and torque those two down. All right, there we go. Beautiful. All right, and I just want to tighten the locking collar right here. Now, back from my race car days, when you torque down a bolt, just always mark it with a white paint mark so you know it's already been torqued. And I'm marking these down here. I'll just put a mark right there, good. Good. All right. So we're done with this assembly. Now let's move over here. We want to put our spring perch on, our shock, and our steering knuckle. Okay, here's our cleaned up and refinished spring perch. Doesn't that look nice? Now what we want to do is take out our original 13mm bolts, and you want to also put Loctite on these. And let's see, the spring perch is going to sit right there. And we'll put Loctite on each of these. All right, next thing is our shock. And let's see here. All right, Bilstein gives us new hardware, and they already apply the Loctite from the factory. So we'll go ahead and get this one started here. Now, these are 12-point socket, guys, so you got to use a 12-point to tighten them. There we go. All right. All right, that's good. All right, next thing we want to do is install our steering knuckle. All right, there's our new ball joint and steering knuckle. Just take off our nut there, and that ball joint is just going to slip under there. We'll put our nut on the top loosely. We're not going to crank it down yet. Okay, there we go. All right, what I want to do now is lower the car down, get a jack stand under here, and we're going to put back in the dreaded compressed spring. I hate this part. All right, now I've sprayed a little silicone on the rubber gasket on the top to help it slip in better. And we're not going to be able to get in with it at that angle, so we need to pull it down a little bit. All right. See if we can get it in like that. And I'm going to go ahead and move our shock out of the way. There we go. Okay, there we go. Now, see if I can show you guys this. See that hole right there? That's a drain hole. And you see right around, let's see if I can get back there. Okay, see back there? It's gonna be a bad angle. See the end of the spring right there? The end of that spring needs to come line up right there with that hole, because there's a little, see, there's like a little barrier or a little dam right there. That shows you where to align the spring. I know that was a bad camera angle, so we're gonna twist the spring until it lines up. Okay, good, it's lined up. Now, I'm gonna lift this up. Okay. And our jack is under there now, so that's not gonna fall out. Okay, I've got it perfectly aligned. Now, I want to lower the car and put our nut on for this upper control arm. That way we are out of the danger zone with that spring. All right, let me go. Okay, there we go. Okay, good. That spring is now held in there. Let's get our nut on here, and then we're in the clear. right. Thank God that's over. What we have now, see, with this nut connecting to our upper control arm and then our ball joint nut down here, that means if that spring were to decompress, it cannot come out of the car now. So let's start getting everything tightened up. All right, let me torque that down and we'll be back in a second. All right, you guys can barely see the top of the shock down here. We're gonna put our bushing back in there and our cover plate and put our nut on there. We'll tighten that down once we get the suspension under a little load so the shock doesn't spin. All right, now we can decompress our spring. All right, here we go. All right, now I want to clean up that spring a little bit now that it's back in the car and it's safe to work on. I want to clean it up. Okay, I just wiped it down with some alcohol, you know, mild solvent. And look at that, we still have our original markings on the springs. There we go. Let's get this wiped down a little bit. There we go. All right, I've got the car lifted up, and what I've also done is rewrapped the line for our ABS sensor. I wrapped the electrical lines and electrical tape. I just kept the original insulation on there, then just wrapped it real good. A little extra protection. And this is gonna go right like that. We need to slip it. Remember I greased this earlier. We're just gonna slip this right into here. There we go, very nice. And then we need to put our retaining nut. And you can also see where I've put my white X marks to tell me that I've already torqued those bolts down. Just always a good idea to do that. All right. There we go. Okay guys, we are back under the car. And I'm going to go ahead and start installing the tie rods, center link, and steering shock. And these old brakes are going to come off of here in a little while, so you can ignore them for right now. All right, hopefully you guys can see that. This is the one that I ordered in from Germany because Mercedes and the Classic Center and Parts Warehouse, nobody had this one, so I called Phoebe Bilstein, their headquarters, and they said they had one in Germany, and so they shipped it out to me, which is pretty cool. Okay, now if you remember guys, I told you to, in the disassembly, I told you to save this bolt right here. That's because we can reuse it. No reason to replace that. To put our steering shock, oh, remember that other steering shock, how loose it was? Look at this one. That's how they're supposed to be. That's how they're supposed to be. All right. Oh, got some anti-seize on there. All right. There we go. These are the steering stabilizer shock. That's what this thing is. I have one of these on my giant F250 in Excursion. All right, we'll torque that down later. Now I'm not going to put on the other tie rod because I need to do the other side of the suspension. All right, what we're going to do now is move out here and start working on the hub, dust shield and the rotors, that kind of stuff. And guys, I just realized the tie rod that I put over here when I was disassembling, this is the side that had the green one on it. So I'm going to go ahead and take that off and put the green one back onto this side. All right, there we go. We got the green one back over here on this side. All right, let's get our dust shield on there. All right, now that that's back in, we're going to bring our ABS sensor back up here. There we go, got our sensor back in there. Good. All right, now we can put our steering knuckle back on, and even though I put a lot of grease down in that knuckle, I'm just gonna put some on the spindle here. And then up there where the bearing rides, where the bearing seal rides, so it's nice and lubricated when it first tries to spin on there and doesn't bind. Oh. All right, now that the hub and bearings are back on there, we're going to put our spindle nut back on here. I'm going to wipe some of the grease away there. There we go. Now, these just need to be hand tight, guys. You just want to get the play out. You don't want to crank these down or your bearing will, the bearing preload will be wrong. All right, let me show you how to get the bearing preload. So this isn't tight right now, and we can see how it's loose on there? So we just want to tighten it up. See, it's the play is going away. Still here a little bit. All right, there we go. There's no more play in there. That's right where you want it. And then we're going to go ahead and tighten this up. There we go. Nice. All right. Let's get our little radio interference pin in the end of it here. There we go. I think that's actually like a grease scraper. I think the job of that thing is to scrape the grease in here and like maybe swirl it around. I don't know. It's always been kind of a mystery. Make sure I tighten that up good. All right. There we go. More. All right, there we go. Nice. Doesn't that look nice, you guys? All right, I'm just gonna hit it with some brake clean. Hub's been refinished, new bearing seal. New shock, new guide rod mount, refinished the housing, new tie rod end, new center link, new steering shock, new ball joint. All of this under here is brand new. Now, there was absolutely no reason to replace that lower control arm bushing. That thing is perfect condition. Same goes for that upper control arm. Absolutely no reason to change that. Would have been a complete waste of time. So now what we want to do is go ahead and get this old caliper off of here and replace the caliper and the hose and get that remounted. All right, I have our new brake hose here, and I've just put a cap on it. So what we're going to do is loosen this one, remove it, and then quickly thread this in so it won't leak a lot of fluid, and then we can screw our new caliper on. All right, there it goes. Now we're just quickly going to get our new brake line and thread it right in there. All right, we have our line in there and everything's reconnected. And this is actually going to go over here and snap into our retaining clip right here. There we go. Okay, so what we need to do, there's where the caliper plugs in right there. We're going to remove the cap and then quickly spin this on. All right, there's our cap. Just got to get it, the thread to start. There we go. And that's how you do it without losing a lot of brake fluid. All right, now, see how that's all twisted? We're going to get that untwisted once we get everything mounted up here. All right, let me go get the retaining bolts. We'll temporarily just set that right there. Okay, and ATE provides the blue Loctite from the factory. So we don't need to put any more on there. Let's go up here with this. And we'll just get them started back here. All right. All right, now that that is in there, I want to loosen it up here and turn this just a little bit to get the twist out of our brake hose. Okay, now we want to reinstall the brake pad wear sensor, and you can see I've rewrapped the original harness insulation. There was still insulation on there, but I like to rewrap it with the electrical tape, and that just, you know, keeps it nice. And we're going to go ahead, put our harness onto our new calipers here. We also want to torque down our caliper bolts. And I'll have to do a manual hand wrench up there because the guide rod mount's in the way. All right, let me get the torque wrench, finish those off, then let's go put the pads in. All right, guys, pads on these ATE brakes are so easy to install. We just put in our genuine ATE pads, all the same manufacturer, all the OEM supplier that made this stuff for Mercedes. Okay. Yeah, if you bought a Mercedes in 1985, that's what would come on the car, this exact piece. So we'll go ahead and put a retainer right in here. And there's a little pin with, see, this pin has a, that's like a lead crush washer. And it slides through here and out the other side. And then you tap it in with a punch, and that crush washer crushes and holds it in there, retains it in there. So easy to do brake pads on these cars. Okay, you can see there's that lead crush washer. See how it's poking out a little bit? So you get a punch, put it on there, and you tap it right in there. There we go. Those are installed. When you tap them through, you can see the little pin sticking through right there. Now let's put in our brake pad wear sensors. Let me show you how these work. If you look at your pad, you will see a little hole right there and a little hole right there. That's where the pad wear sensors plug into, and then they fit into these notches right here, and then they plug into our harness. So let me show you that. All right, see, we got a little stem that plugs in there. So we got to get this right. There we go. Push that one down. Sometimes they need a little coaxing. There we go. And then that just comes around and plugs back into the harness here. There we go. There we go. And that's it, guys. Brakes are installed. And there we have it. We are done with the driver's side. Refinish the hub, re-grease the bearing, put a new bearing seal on the back. Let's see, new rotor, new caliper, new pads, new brake pad wear sensors. Refinished and installed the housing for the guide rod mount right there. And if we go around the back here, we see brand new ball joint. Then we have new tie rod ends here and here. New Bilstein shock. Doesn't that look nice? Also, we put in the new center link and the steering stabilizer shock. So guys, that's a lot of work. That's a couple of days what you've seen in this like 30 or 40 minute video. Now I have to do everything that you just saw again on the passenger side. That's what it looked like before. The old original stuff. That's what it looks like now. So let me go ahead and knock that out, and I'll come back in like 1 second and you will see everything finished and ready to go. And with the magic of video editing, it's the next day and I am done. Let's take a look. And you can see we have cleaned up the spring. There's a brand new Bilstein shock. I've refinished the hubs, repacked the bearings, put in a new bearing seal, installed a new rotor. We'll peek around here. We can see the brand new ball joint. Over here we see our new ATE caliper, brake pad wear sensors, new pads, got our tie rod boots. You see all the little X's, that's where I torqued. And it's just a reminder myself that I've torqued those bolts already. Anyway, if we go underneath here, here we go. Tie rod, center link, steering shock, new tie rod, ball joints. We go back here. There's the new guide rod bushing we put in there. We've remounted our cross member. And guys, that is how you do it. If you've never ridden in one of these cars, 123s or 126s with all new suspension, I highly recommend doing it. It changes the ball game. This is the most important stuff on your car. This is what connects your chassis of your car to the road. Your suspension and your brakes. So that's why I focus so much on this stuff in the videos, because that's what it's all about, suspension and brakes. In racing, you know, we used to have a saying, it's not how much horsepower or how powerful your engine is, it's how good your suspension and brakes are. That's what wins the race. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. We'll see you next time. Take care.